Okay, so I've been making a lot of Tempo Rogue decks lately, and people ask me all the time, hey, I don't have Edwin, what do I replace him with? Unfortunately, if you want this deck to perform well, Edwin is not replaceable. So what do I mean by replaceable? While there are never any one-to-one direct replacements in Hearthstone, quite often you can find good enough substitutes. For example, Bone Mare, which is used to put a body on the board and beef up one of your guys to be used as removal or go face. You know, there's no other card that does all these things, but there are 7 mana neutral minions that are reasonable substitutes. For example, Blaze Caller gives you a big body while either removing one of your opponent's minions or hitting face for 5. It does require you to play an elemental a turn before to get the full effect of this card, but while it doesn't do the same thing as Bone Mare, it's a reasonable replacement for Bone Mare. But Edwin, man, he can hit the board as a 6/6, 8/8, 10/10 in the first few turns of the game. I mean, there's no other card in the game that does that. He typically ends the game against ramp decks before they can exploit their mana advantage. In the Tempo Rogue mirror, lots of times one player will get Prince KELESETH and the other player will get a big Edwin. In my experience anyway, the player with the big Edwin always wins because, you know, I found the immediate tempo burst of having that 8/8 on the board turn 3 or turn 4 is much better than the incremental stat increase that you get from Prince KELESETH as the game goes on. I mean, the player who is hoping to draw their tempo increases is just getting hit in the face for 8 every turn. They're on their back foot immediately. And even if they have dealt with Edwin, quite often they've used so many resources dealing with Edwin, they haven't been able to deal with your other threats. And by the time they get Edwin off the board, the game is already over. Alright, so let's look at some games that illustrate what we've been talking about here. Unfortunately, I wasn't recording these games, but I do have the replay files so we can follow along with how the games played out. Okay, so this is a game where my opponent got a turn 1 KELESETH, and we were able to backstab coin out Edwin, get a 6/6 Edwin on turn 2. And you can see here that we're able to use that 6/6 body along with the other resources in our hand to keep our opponent off the board. We're able to fight through his Captain and Patches, we're able to fight through his Tar Creeper, we're able to fight through his Sarah Knight Chain Gang, and we're able to do all of this while keeping pressure on our opponent's health and keeping our opponent's board clear. Even though on turn, I think it is turn 6 here, our opponent is actually able to kill our Edwin by using SI7 Agent and his weapon. By that point, our opponent's board is still pretty much clear, he's already at 10 health, and it's pretty easy for us to mop up the game from there. Okay, so this is a game against either Jade Druid or Big Druid. I'm not honestly sure because the game was over before I was able to find out, but here it is turn 3, we weaponed up turn 2, and we're able to play our South Sea deckhand with charge, get out Patches with charge, we shadow step the deckhand, and then we even backstab our own 2 minions to coin out a gigantic 14/14 Edwin on turn 3. Some Druid decks run Naturalize, some Druid decks run Spellbreaker, and those are just the risks you have to take. Most Druid decks don't run them, or if they do have them, you have to hope they're not in their hand, because this Edwin is going to end the game almost immediately if they don't have them. Even here, our opponent has a kind of sad spreading plague for 1, and we get a little bit of an assist from Leroy, who is in and of himself another irreplaceable card, but this is a turn, I believe, 5 victory on the back of a 14/14 Edwin. Here's another game against Ramp Druid, where turn 3 we're able to shadow step our guy, backstab his guy, and then coin out a 10/10 Edwin VanCleef. And you know, even though our opponent is able to ramp a couple of times, he's got, I think, 3 more mana than we do, and he's got a Glock Crawler to eat our South Sea Captain, which is usually backbreaking. Just the fact that we have a 10/10 Edwin on the board that he cannot deal with ends the game before it even begins. We do again get an assist from Leroy, but even if we didn't have Leroy, this game was over. So, getting back to the question at hand. I don't have Edwin, I want to play Tempo Rogue. What do I put in instead of Edwin? And the answer is whatever you want, because you're not really replacing Edwin. Put in a Shadow Blade, put in a Tart Creeper if you're not running 2, put in a Serenite Chain Gang if you're not already running them. Look at cards that people play in Tempo Rogue, and if you're not currently playing those cards, put one of them in. It doesn't really matter because you can't replace Edwin. Can you play the deck? Sure. Can you have fun? Yes. Can you have results up to maybe say rank 10? Yeah, you can have good results. But if you want to get beyond rank 10, you need to have Edwin VanCleef in this deck. Alright, so that's it for today's video. If you liked the video, want to see more content like this, please click the like button, please click the subscribe button. Any bit of clicking you can do is going to help me out. Doesn't cost you anything, helps me out a ton. I really appreciate you taking the time to do that. So that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching.